Do I have the floor, President Hurtado?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure I cover this. Can I do it before my time starts, clarification on this wonderful policy we just passed? Am I allowed to ask questions or no?
You can add.
Because that's not in here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here, but it doesn't say, can we engage or not?
No.
I didn't figure. Anyway, Jamie Alwood, radical, 7700 Bradcliffe Drive, Plainfield, Illinois. Thank you for deeming me a radical, Mr. Peck. I find it very ironic because this is the same person, myself, tried to get a fake ID to vote for Ronald Reagan back in the 80s, not to drink beer, but to vote for Ronald Reagan. I'm a radical. No, I'm not. I'm a concerned citizen. And you should show me a tad bit of respect. The same I'm going to try to show you. I came here tonight to congratulate Cameron Benton on being the IPRA Professional of the Year. I wasn't able to come in November. It was my anniversary. The meeting that was canceled in December, I noticed the room has shrank. His chair is no longer filled. And I read that he had resigned. I want to know why. I want to know why he resigned. Surely the taxpayers, the executive director, Mr. Peck, President Hurtado, and the rest of the board would want someone of Cameron Benton's quality, character, and skill set to be sitting in this room. Why would we want him or Mr. Les to go work for another park district? He is the professional of the year, and we don't want him. And again, I'd like you to answer the question, but I guess you're not going to. When were the commissioners notified that an entire department was going to be eliminated? I've heard from Ms. Ludeman and Mr. Newton, the press, thank you, and commented on this. I have not heard from the quote-unquote board majority, and I will get to the board majority in a minute. Was Mr. Benton's severance package discussed with the board? If not, why? I imagine there was some sort of severance. I want to know from each commissioner, that includes you, Mr. Steines, Ms. Zalowski, Mr. Hurtado, Mr. Newton, and Ms. Ludeman. I want to know, when did you know it? Or what did you know and when did you know it regarding the removal of Mr. Benton and Mr. Les? Finally, Mr. Peck, Mr. Hurtado, I continue to hear about the board majority from you both, publicly and in the press. This board is one. It's not two. It's not three. It's one board. Ms. Zalowski, I pose this to you because I found you to be a good person, someone who listens and will break from the pack from time to time. Does it not bother you that these people think that your vote's just taken for granted? Because that's what they think. They really do. You're part of the board majority. Ms. Zalowski, no, you're better than that. You're part of the board, not just of the majority, of the board. You represent all of us, just like the rest of these fine folks. I want to point out as well, in Mr. Peck's contract, which makes me sick in my stomach when I read, but still, his contract, section 4, part F, the executive director must notify the board through an executive session board meeting before the hiring or dismissal of any department heads. Another question, somebody might want to answer. Did Mr. Peck go to anyone in the board about the dismissal of an entire department, let alone the department head? Also, did Mr. Peck go to anyone on the board in executive session when it came time to hire the Reverend Booth? Also a department head. This is in his contract, folks. Mr. Murphy, you wrote it. Why don't we adhere to that? Finally. Sorry here, got too many papers.
Your time's up, sir.
Allowed to go for just one more minute, please.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. The thing that you passed tonight, I tend to agree with this person here. I mean, I don't think it's constitutional, and I don't think it's right. It's not what you guys claim to want to do, which is to bring in an era of transparency and openness. There's nothing open about that. You're better than this. Ms. Lasky, I've talked to you personally after a meeting. I find you to be very, very kind, and I think you have the right frame of mind. Do the right thing. You do not have to follow these people. You just don't, including you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, because, my name is James Rasich, I live at 24738 Fairbanks Court, Plainfield, Illinois. I'm a resident of the village of Plainfield, and I'm a resident of the Plainfield Park District. You know, you could always, I know the new discussion policy for comment says vain repetition, doesn't say vain repetition, but it says repetition. And when you're the third or fourth or fifth speaker, there is going to be some repetition, so bear with it. One thing in particular that really disturbs me is I received an email from Ms. Ludeman, and Ms. Ludeman sent this email to the executive director, secretary here at Peck, November the 17th. I would like personal matters to be added to the executive session at our next park board meeting. I have some questions with respect to Cameron Benton's contract that will be expiring soon, and what are our plans for going forward? I know Janet has told everyone at the August Plainfield Township Republican meeting that Cameron was given a new 3-year contract. I was also told Garrett via a voicemail that it was not true. Seeing how this contract is up very soon, we need to discuss this. She received an email back from Mr. Peck. Are you ready for this? Good morning, Mary. I met with President Hurtado. At this point, this item you are requesting does not have the support to be added to the agenda. I will ask Wendy to please send you a copy of Cameron's current employment contract. Now, number one, you can't do that. She requested a executive session. All she has to do is come and have a meeting, say, I want an executive session, I'll make a motion, it is seconded, and then it is voted on by this board. You did not do that. How can you deny a person their particular rights, especially when that person is on this board? That is outrageous. Another situation I'd like to bring to your benefit is this evening, Mr. Steiny said, where were you, Mr. Newton, last month? Well, you know, you guys canceled the meeting in December. With all of the action that this group has to face, the meeting is canceled. I contend that meeting was canceled simply to circumvent Mr. Cameron Benton. When that man recently said that he was the most outstanding individual in the state of Illinois to win an award, and then we don't even keep him as an employee. We hire someone who is so unqualified for the job, Garrett Peck. We hire someone in another situation, a director of communication, Douglas Booth, who you're naming a treasurer. We get rid of Cameron Benton. We get rid of Greg Bott. We get rid of Mary Ann Ryan. We get rid of, and then I understand there's another person in the planning department that's totally gone right now. We get rid of what is valued and we keep what is not necessary. When Ms. Solowski said at this particular meeting this evening, she said this board isn't like what it isn't like what it used to be. People respected the board. You know why people don't respect this board? It's dysfunctional. It is totally dysfunctional. It does not exist as a functioning board. If you want to go to a good meeting, go to another governmental unit, and you'll find that you'll see what a real board is supposed to be like. We have two individuals, Ms. Ludeman and Mr. Newton, who are respected, and I do not indicate that you two are in my comments. I respect you two individuals. The rest, you have difficulties. This board, and you're smiling, Mr. Hurtado, which shows your contempt for me, but I would not smile and show my contempt for you because you are contemptuous. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any other members?
Hi, I'm Michelle Kelly. I live at 14907 South Bartlett and also a resident of the Plainfield Park District. Kozlowski, you asked us to come to these podiums to share our concerns. That's what I'm here for. I've been to almost every meeting you've had since you brought Garrett Peck in and the new board has got seated. And I've continually brought my concerns. In most cases, those concerns have not been answered. My questions have not been answered, much like the questions tonight and the concerns tonight. They be left on the table. So I bring to you my concern. Please start answering our concerns. We bring these to you because we care about the Park District. When we started out with this new board majority, we all hoped for the best. But all we see is decisions being made behind the scenes and not at the public board meetings. We haven't had a meeting in almost 6 weeks, and in that interim, some big decisions have been made, and some agreements for employees to leave the Park District have been made. How is it that the board is not a part of those agreements, severance agreements? That doesn't make any sense. How can a board and an executive session not happen when there's severance agreements? So things are happening behind the scenes, not only with personnel matters that should maybe not be in front of the public, but should be agreed upon in an executive session and then voted in the public, in front of us. How is it that that is occurring? And then I share this other concern that we see, the things that we see coming out. Garrett, you've put out recently, what I read in the patch, I didn't read the whole, whatever you put out because they only quoted you, but you said we're taking us in a new direction. What is that new direction? What meeting? Because I've been to every meeting or read the minutes from them. No one's talking about a new direction. No one's laying it out on the table. All we see is good people leaving or being fired or being pushed out. And it seems like, and I can only kind of glean this from the packets that go out and some of the payroll, that people are being hired. And there's nothing out in our community saying you're hiring. There's no letters that say open job. But new people are getting positions somehow. And so how is this happening and not happening here with our new direction? So I ask you, bring this to the public, talk about it at a board meeting, show us what you're doing, be transparent, and help us understand how you're moving this Park District forward.
Anybody else would like to address the board? All right.
Can I go again?
No.
Yeah.
Commissioner comments? Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes, I'll make some comments here. Pursuant to section 4.7 of our board manual, that leaves the executive director in charge of all day-to-day functions, and as reiterated in section 8.2, the board will, and I quote, rely on the executive director to handle the administrative function of the district. When it comes to staff deployment and assignment, he has complete authority according to the manual as specified in the board and executive director partnership. Who does what? Page 39. With Mr. Benton's resignation, revamping the planning department to best serve the needs of the Park District is within his purview as executive director. That being said, sometimes the process that leads to decisions made, such as the closing of the planning department, becomes as important as the act itself, if not more so, because of the lack of input by all the board members. I believe that some change should be made in the manual itself with regards to specific clarification, making sure that all board members are informed and able to discuss issues such as this, particularly where senior staff such as departmental directors are involved. Shortly after being sworn in as a Park District Commissioner, I was called by a reporter who wanted me to comment on various issues of concern. I responded that I would not comment as this was up to the president or the executive director per per the board manual at each board conversation, so. And I brought the board manual with me tonight. It is my friend and it gives guidance on issues. Last evening, I received a call from another reporter in regards to current issues of interest, to whom I responded in kind. But this individual, who I highly respect, would not let it go, insisting on the wrongness of these rules, urging me to give out information, including personnel matters, which we cannot discuss, no matter what. Which brings me back to the board manual, and why I feel it's so important that I brought it with me tonight. This manual is the rule book for the Park District Board, governing everything from our mission statement to policies and procedures and the responsibilities of board members, including board conduct and more. The purpose of the manual, and I quote this, "The provision within this manual are a manifestation of the Plainfield District Board's desire to establish basic standards for appropriate decision-making, protocol, and conduct. It was put together by past boards, and I have referred to it to govern my own speech and actions in regards to Park District matters. I respect the work of the previous boards who worked so hard to put this manual together, and until such time as change might be made, I continue to follow its guidelines and hope that those in media and that are here will respect my decision in this matter. I've been a part of this community since 1990. My husband and I raised our children here. We do what we can, and we are doing our best. And oftentimes, when people stand and speak, they speak with much feeling. And I look at all the people out here, and I see a lot of wonderful people. They get frustrated about issues. Sometimes I wish you could be over here on my side, because sometimes there are things that we cannot discuss, but are reasons for why we are doing things. We hope that you will take a look at how the Park District is doing itself. Because when I first came on board, and there was all this worry that the whole Park District was going to fall apart, and it hasn't. It's done well. And if the Park District is doing well, our programs, the Recreation Department is expanding, it's doing well, please allow us this opportunity to do what we need to do, and tell us what you
Tell us what you're doing. Just tell us
Excuse
what
me,
you're doing.
excuse me a minute, please. You should know better, Mrs. Kelly. You are the best president. Excuse me, sir, excuse me.
Mr. Howell.
and to do
I
it
just-
with
Excuse me,
pursuant.
sir. She's talking.
I know, I'm listening.
Excuse me. Right, Mrs. Solowski?
Thank you. Pursuant to the rules and regulations of the board manual. And that means that sometimes we can't tell you what you want to know. Especially with personnel matters, we simply can't. But I, of all people, want to make sure that people feel that we care about what you think. You may think we don't, but we do. I do. And I hope you'll understand that we are trying to move forward and do the very best to grow this Park District and to make it the very best that it can be. And that's my statement.
Commissioner Stein?
No.
I do have something I just wanted to comment on, that there have been many changes within the Park District that have created changes to the entire organizational makeup. I would like to point out that hiring and firing decisions are the sole responsibility of the executive director. However, decisions that change the organizational structure of our park district, such as eliminating and creating departments, are board level decisions, and that is in our manual. Per our board manual, any decisions that involve planning for the future, park district goals, policies, hiring of consultants and attorneys are all board level decisions that the executive director is supposed to recommend to the board for discussion and approval. For the record, I am not in support of the elimination of the planning department. We are the 9th largest park district in the state of Illinois based upon population served. It is unheard of that an organization of our size would not have a planning department. In 2007, before the economic downturn, Plainfield was the 5th fastest growing community within the entire nation per Forbes. Growth has never ceased in Plainfield, even during the economic downturn. It has only slowed. The economy is showing signs of recovery, and to enter the economic recovery and subsequent growth without a planning department is unrealistic and not in the best interest of our park district and community. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank everybody that was on the Riverfront Steering Committee and Riverfront Foundation with me, and that I have to step down for reasons of employment, and we'll have somebody else nominated to take my place, but I do want to recognize the work that everybody in the community has done with the village and the park district and many other concerned citizens. It's been a pleasure to serve on that committee and the foundation, to be involved, to see how it's progressing. The Riverfront's going to be a tremendous asset for the community, and I'm so thankful that I was able to be involved in that. With regards to the public comments policy, when I was an interested citizen and I would come to meetings prior to being a commissioner, there were a lot fewer people that would come to these meetings. I think it was myself and 5 other people, the board members, and we were able to interact and have discourse based totally on respect. And I really am sorry to see that atmosphere has gone away, and we're not able to do that. It would be so much better for everybody, in my opinion, if we were able to interact on every issue or every question as they arose in a way of respect, so that as long as people were respectful of us and we were respectful of them, that questions could be answered, issues could be raised, all of this in the for the improvement of the community. So that's why I voted no on the public policy policy.
Thank you, Commissioner. Of course, the Reform Foundation, and I'm sure we'll try to find somebody who can fill the shoes, which I think is going to be hard, but thank you very much for the Riverfront Foundation. I have no comments on what I just said. Let's go to the staff report, administration.
There were 7 FOIA requests for November. At the time of the board packets for December, there were 1. I think we probably got 5 additional ones for December. And so far this month, we've had 3, I think. We're still waiting for responses back from 3 of the Attorney General Public Access Concert reviews. And by next week, working with Corinne from marketing to get all the FOIA requests up online. We're about halfway through, but I took a break over Christmas.
All right, thank you. Commissioner.
There's been no session, so there's no legislative reports. In the near future, the General Assembly will reconvene, and many new bills and whatnot will be proposed, so we'll have things coming up in the spring.
Thank you, sir. Action for item discussed in executive session. We don't have any actions going on. New business. Commissioner Kowalski, new business? New business? No. Commissioner Stanley? Commissioner? Board directors, we don't have any. All right, sounds good. Motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Steiny? Rudman? Yes. Wooten? Solowski? Yes. Furtado?
Yes.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thank you.